evening and welcome to the May 21st meeting of the Board of Selectmen. If you all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And welcome and thanks for those that have chosen to tune in or joined us here. Just a real quick apology for being a little bit late. We've had a couple of executive sessions earlier this evening. Any announcements from the board? Just remind everybody that in approximately 1 hour or 55 minutes, the vote, town meeting style vote, will take place on RSU 57's budget at the M.R.S.A Middle School. So our agenda is very short this evening with just a couple of pieces of business. And anyone that would like to attend that session, you still have plenty of time to get there. You do have to register as you go in as a registered voter. But our town clerk will be there checking names off and whatnot. So that session starts at 7 this evening. We do not have any appointments this evening. Hearing of the delegation. Correspondence, just quickly, Treasurer's Report, Representative Libby and Senator Tuttle's newsletters, information on Southern Maine Regional Planning Commission's annual meeting. There's a letter from American Diabetes Association TourdeCure, bicycling event that will be happening on June 9th. A letter from the Road Review Committee on a couple of different issues, and a planning board meeting tomorrow night's agenda as part of our correspondence. Reports and staff initiatives. Go to the Selectmen. Board, anything?
No, I have nothing.
Okay, Tammy Jo?
Just real quick, we're having a meeting tomorrow night for the York County Budget Committee. The county commissioners have decided that the Budget Committee may have sanctions placed against them for our refusal to sign the ethics initiative that they've put out, including censure of the committee. They're having a public hearing on that on June 5th. We have an executive session tomorrow evening with the Budget Committee's attorney for discussion. What would be quite interesting is if they decide to censure the votes of the Budget Committee, then the County of York would have no budget because the budget is set by the Budget Committee. So we'll have that executive session meeting tomorrow night and then the public hearing on June 5th.
Okay. Anything else, Steve?
Nope.
David?
None.
John? Just a reminder, and I think you all have an invitation here this evening, the annual meeting of Eco Maine and luncheon will be on June 12th. And the guest speaker is the gentleman that's been working on the organic recycling. So if you have any interest in that, all you gotta let Eco Maine know that you're coming, and there's no charge. An elected official, and you can attend.
Chairman, if I may, there may have been a correction that you were not made aware of, that it's the 13th rather than the 12th.
Oh, okay. I looked quickly at the calendar. You're right. It's Thursday, the 13th, right?
Yes,
Yep.
Thursday
Okay.
the 13th.
Okay. Anything else from the board? Town administrator is busy doing the treasurer's work. Just so everybody knows, Julie Giles has recently gone through a, I won't call it major because I'll call it a significant operation. And she's doing well in recovery, and but will be out for some period of time. Let's jump right to new business. This is a kind of a issue that was brought up Friday to look at a setback violation that is at 18 Pace Landing. So the agenda item is discuss vote to approve a consent agreement for the property at 18 Pace Landing for a setback violation. So the consent agreement would be agreement for penalty in lieu of legal action. And I guess I would just ask Christina, who prepared this?
Code Enforcement Officer Mitchell prepared that document.
So, and that's okay with the way that it was written? I mean, our counsel, legal counsel, is okay with the way that this is prepared?
Yes,
Okay.
they give us some
This is written very similar to the last one that we went through. Okay, so this involves Ronald and Lori Brooks. So tell us why, for all these years, you built a addition that significantly violates setback.
I can only tell you what my assumption is. I do know that 11 years ago when I applied for the permit and it was approved, that there was a physical line that was run through the woods, dividing our property lines, and we had no reason to believe that we were in violation. As a matter of fact, when I asked if a survey needed to be done, they told me originally I was going to put a 20-foot addition on. They told me if I stayed at least 2 feet away from that 35-foot line, that a survey didn't need to be done. So I actually put an 18-foot addition on instead of a 20-foot to stay within that. And then only Thursday night, during the sale of my house, did we find out from another surveyor that we're only 20 feet away. If you look at the map that we have highlighted in yellow and some red there, my neighbor's property line is actually pegged out with 4 different back lot pins. And I'm making the assumption that when the contractor ran this line, he went to the wrong pin, which is only diagonally 68 feet away, but from my property line, only about 40 feet away from the back lot line at an angle. That would have given me the 37 feet that I needed to be in compliance, but it was the wrong pin, and they're extremely close to each other. And it's a weird back. She has almost like a chunk taken out of her back lot. So there were a bunch of different pins there in that same area, all within. If you stand in the middle of it, they're within sight of each other. If you dig around and put posts there, anyways. So it was totally unintentional.
Were you aware that your in-ground pool, that your house, and that your garage were all lined up on the setback requirements?
No, I was not.
Well, all of them 35 feet away from the property line.
Yeah, I wasn't, because I had the house built. I bought the house brand new in 1992, so somebody else got that building permit. And when I had the pool put in, the pool company actually got that building permit for me. So I wasn't aware that we were actually right on the limit of that line. And so when I worked with a contractor to draw out the plans for this addition, we actually thought that we had the space to do it at the time. And not until Thursday afternoon did we find out different.
I know you can't speak for the financial institution, but why wait until the 11th hour to determine whether or not?
I know everybody's frustrated about that. It's the buyer's financial institution, and why they would wait till Thursday afternoon for a closing that was supposed to happen Friday at 10 in the morning. It was a shock to me, and I've been out there all weekend long trying to figure out how this mistake happened, and this is the best we could come up with. I did get a note from my neighbor that I've attached. I have the original version here, explaining that it hasn't been a problem as far as her property or her lifestyle or anything.
So the addition is this piece right here?
Exactly, ma'am.
It's nice that you've got your neighbor's thing, but in the future, if we decide to add on, we don't want to have to be prohibited from doing so. They will be prohibited from doing so unless they get a variance. So
Right,
just
I
because,
explained
just
to her
because
that-
one house
She,
Builds
as
too
long as
close,
she
doesn't-
stayed away from the 35-foot line,
Yeah.
then she would
Right.
get a permit, just as I had attempted to do in the proper manner 11 years ago.
Is there in fact a stone marker out there too, as well?
Yes, if you look at where I've marked the mistaken marker that I went to, there was some type of a land dispute with the person behind us cutting trees, and he removed that pin and put a big white stone marker that goes all the way down into the ground. It really stands out there, has a big S on it, and I'm pretty sure that's illegal, but I mean, it happened a while ago. I don't know why he did it, but I guess he was contending that he was cutting trees on his property, and it was actually on my neighbor's property, and she said something to him about it.
Do you think there's a possibility that because that stone marker is so obvious that the line was drawn from that marker?
I would make that
rather
assumption
than-
that
rather
as you're
than
looking around for these pins, that you get drawn to this because it stands right out. I mean, it sticks up above the ground, where all the other pins we actually had to dig around for with 20 years of pine needles and leaves and stuff like that. So it was easy to get drawn to that. That's the first place I went to when I went to check this surveyor's information from Thursday afternoon. And then when I finally got a copy of this map, it made sense to me that we had gone to the wrong marker.
When was this built, the addition?
The addition in 2002.
Okay, so it's been around for 11 years, right?
You know what, I made my notifications to the code enforcement officer after I got my permit, you know, when we had the footings put in, and when we had the foundation done before we backfilled it, and then when we had the roof put on. And I was under the assumption that they came out on a regular basis to check on things, but I was never notified of any violation. We may-
Our code enforcement isn't responsible when you're putting on an addition or whatnot of making sure that the lines are proper. That's
since found that
your
out.
responsibility.
At the time, I thought that was part of the process, and obviously since this happened, I've learned a lot more about the process.
So the addition you put on, this is Pace Landing here,
Yes, sir.
okay? So the addition you put on is in this area here? Where is it?
No, it's actually up closer to the front,
Close to the Pace Landing?
closer to Pace Landing, much closer.
Which I would think, as that lot narrows down, you would have been even more aware that you were not, the setback didn't meet.
Yeah.
Copy of the.
See, the front of the
survey.
lot is 153 feet wide, and the back is only 145, so when you're looking through the woods,
The title survey.
you think that you're going
Yep.
in a straight line. I didn't actually run the line, but I remember the line being out there.
Okay. The original house was permitted in, what, 1992?
Should be
Right.
1992. That's when
By
I
Van
moved in.
Foglio. Showed a 35 setback on the side. And that was in the file, Mark. I know you weren't here then, but, I mean, my only question, I guess, is that if we had a plot plan when the original house was put in, and it showed it was 35 feet from the plot line,
I think it would be fair to say that the code officer or someone could have looked through the entire file,
Yeah.
and that might have raised a flag, but that didn't happen.
in the 97, when the pool went in, it showed 40 feet to the sideline.
just made it, so they may have been also measuring off of a crazy road that didn't exist.
Yeah, because in this says it was issued by S. Wentworth. Not even sure who that is. That had to be before Patty, right? Plot plan submitted. Showed 37 feet to the side, and I had to do that. If we already had a plot plan back in the 90s, it showed that it was already 35 feet. And then the garage was built in 2006,
Yes, sir.
and that's 37 and a half feet from the other side,
Oh, you got this.
Okay, so normally, I guess, if we just go through this, normally, if they knew that there was an issue, they would have had to have gone to the ZBA to get a variance. Who knows what the ZBA would have done, but presumably, it would have been tough to get a variance.
The ordinance has a few irregularities, I call it irregularities, some quirks that were put in there when it was adopted in '77. So that if this has an issue in there, if your home was existing in 1984, no matter what district you're in, you have to be 10 feet
But
from the
this
side.
didn't exist, this didn't exist.
Right, but that's,
This, I remember when this development went in,
yeah.
up at Payson. So my guess is that, and I wouldn't speak to any ZBA, but it would have been tough to say, you want a violation of that significance, or change the setback by that much.
Mm.
So, just so everybody knows, this agreement would say, you're in violation, we know you're in violation, but we're not gonna do anything about it, basically. In not so many words. So what is the board's pleasure? I will tell you, the last gentleman that was in here a couple months ago, who was a contractor, and who did not survey the property to find the proper lines, he walked out of here $5,000 lighter in the pocketbook, but I'm not sure what, maybe this is a little different situation. So, any other questions from the board? Comments? What's your pleasure?
How much time does the code enforcement office have invested in investigating this matter?
An hour.
No?
Well, look at past precedents. This is a bigger violation than the one we took up 2 months ago, as far as distance.
Is the sale is just still hanging out there pending on,
Yes, sir, it is.
yeah, my only comment, Dave, not to argue for or against, but the difference being that, what was his name?
Josh Waterhouse.
Waterhouse. He was a contractor,
Yeah.
right? And he was the guy who put-
On the other hand, you have a piece of property, you're responsible for building within the setbacks. And in doing that, probably it behooves you to not double, triple, quadruple check and have someone else check your check. Because the getting it wrong can cost, either can have it torn down or cost you a load of money. And it's a big mistake when a mistake is made.
Yeah, the concern that I have, based on, I guess, your comments, Mark, on that plot plan, or on the survey, if we had a plot plan in the file, which I would assume is in the file still, it showed that they were already at 35 feet. all somebody had to do was to go to that plot plan and they would have said, no, you can't do what you want to do.
That could have happened. The original plot plan was in the file folder, but people don't always come in and do. I guess if he came in and applied for the permit, was going to do it himself, it might be different circumstances than what we got here, where he hired someone to come in and do the permitting. They came in, they got a permit for a foundation. They put it in a year later, another permit was issued. And another code officer, Wentworth, issued that permit based upon assuming that the foundation that was already there was in compliance. It got built. There was a couple of chances that I would feel we have a different situation like you were driving to. You had the contractor before, now we have the homeowner who hired somebody. And if I was going to spank the contractor, that'd be one thing, but the homeowner. And I don't know. It's a tough situation to put the board in every time this happens, but they happen a lot in every town.
Well, what it sends as a message is that we don't care whether somebody violates our zoning, we're just gonna give them a consent. Right?
Is it standard practice for the code enforcement office, when an application is made, is it standard procedure to have them pull the plot plan on the piece of property in question to review it before the issuance of the permit?
Our ordinance, this was years ago, but the ordinance does mention, and it was mentioned to them, if you're at least 2 feet away from the setback, then you don't need to get a full-blown survey, which is pretty expensive.
No,
Sounds like that's what
do
you
the
did.
survey.
What he's saying is a standard process, is a standard practice for the code officer to pull all of the documentation out of the file to say, this is what you've got already.
I like to do that, yes. I can't speak for the others.
Very obvious that that didn't happen in 2000.
As a rule of thumb, is that a general operating procedure of CEOs generally across the board? Is that something that is generally an accepted practice in your field, to pull the plot plan and review it?
I do. I don't know if everyone else does.
Because it would seem that the CEO should have found that immediately. I mean, Dennis, as the chair, is a layperson. I mean, he looks at it and says, oh yeah, 35. I mean, if he can spot it that quickly, it would seem to me that the code enforcement officer at the time, when the application was made, would look at that and see the same thing when he knows what he's looking at.
That could have easily raised some flags.
But at the same time, it's the homeowner's responsibility to know where their property lines are.
Well, okay. That may be well said, but when you have 4 or 5 different pins in a location, which I think is unusual here, it's pretty difficult for a layperson to go out and find 4 or 5. How does he know that there's even 4 or 5 pins? He might be looking for one, and if you have one that stands above the rest and you're drawn to it, to me, that's a reasonable effort is made, to comply. It's not a matter of he went out there and physically moved the marker so that it would give him the required setback.
On the other hand, it's, if you're doing something like this, it maybe behoove you to go out and hire a professional to do it, to help you. And so if you're,
When they'll take it.
I guess, my feeling is 11 years after the fact, I'm not interested in making the Brooks tear down part of the house. I understand that there wasn't any deliberate act to violate the zoning ordinance, so I could say that I would be agreeable to doing a consent agreement. The question is, what, in my mind, is what's a fair fine assessment? And I keep going back to the one that we had a number of months ago to 5,000, and I understand that somewhat the circumstances are different, but I like consistency, and I think that to be fair, we need to set a fine that's in line with other fines that we've set in the past.
That being said,
I would be willing to make a motion that we enter into a consent agreement with the Brooks with a fine amount of $5,000.
want to get a second then?
For discussion, I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion.
I think it is obviously a violation. I do think it's a different situation, and I would not agree with the 5,000. I think it's too much. But that's,
I agree with David. I think 5,000 is basically thievery.
We've imposed it before.
Yeah,
I agree
But not
with
in
Tammy,
circumstances like
consistency is
this.
important, but this is a little different twist to the whole setup. And, I know ignorance is no excuse in the law, but I do feel it's a different setup.
It's not a 5% error, it's about a 40% error. You know? I mean, it's one of those things that you look and eyeball it and you say, this is, it doesn't, it's a major error.
So somebody else throw out enough, what's fair?
I don't
We have
think
to-
this is an eyeball thing, though. A physical line was run. It wasn't somebody just standing out there and saying, okay, that looks about right.
But if you knew your property and you knew your buildings, you know that they were at the limit of your building. So, it's there on the side of the garage, it's there on the side of the pool, it was there on the side of the house. All that is, I think, up to the landowner to know where their buildings are on their property. And if they don't know, then you go out and hire someone, a professional that can tell you. Before you go out and start putting $25,000 into building materials and take a chance of having to take it all down.
Where did you, if I can ask, where did you get this document?
Actually, off the York County Registry of Deeds website.
Okay, so this is something that's publicly available. It shows where the PIN locations are.
You have to have some type of an account. My real
Yeah.
estate agent actually got it Friday night or Thursday night after we learned of the violation.
But the subdivision plan is local, is in the,
Yes, I could have gone down to the courthouse myself and gotten
it's
it.
here too. There's a subdivision plan
Okay.
here.
So anybody can go in and get a document that shows where their property lines are.
I would say that I depended on the contractor when he drew out the plans. As I did with the pool and with the garage and the house, when everything was built there, I depended on them to apply for the application, get the permit, the correct permits.
Which I think goes to what you said, John. If you don't know what it is you're supposed to do, you hire someone that has the knowledge base to do that. And you try to rely on that. And in this case, I think that was done. I think it demonstrated that was done. You just ended up on the short end of that stick.
All right, any other discussion, other than, I think this has been expressed that it's too much? Unless somebody wants to offer an amendment, we'll vote up or down on this one.
I'll offer an amendment of 10,000.
Okay,
Of how much?
10.
So he's interested.
so he's going up.
Well, if we thought 5 was ridiculous.
Okay, so is there a second to that amendment? Okay, the amendment dies for lack of a second. Is there another amendment?
I would amend it to $2,000.
Is there a second to
Going
that?
down from 5 to 2.
I'll second that.
Okay. So, there's a motion to amend the original motion to reduce the fine to $2,000. Any discussion on that amendment? All those in favor
Of the amendment?
of the amendment? All those opposed? Okay, motion carries 3-2. So the main amendment is now to enter into an agreement for penalty in lieu of legal action or consent agreement, with the penalty being $2,000. Any discussion now on that motion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 3-2. So, you have a consent agreement for the price of $2,000. We will sign our portion of it. It will not get moved forward until it's paid. So. Okay, moving on. And thank you folks for your patience. And unfortunately, we almost passed this over to next week because of a number of things, but understand that these things happen in the 11th hour, which is unfortunate.
Thanks for your
Okay,
time. I
thank
appreciate
you.
it.
All right, moving on. Old business, just the charter revision implementation process. I'd entertain a motion for warrants and bills and payroll.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Minutes of the May 14th regular meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Pending decisions, I won't belabor those in the interest of time. And week's action list, I think we're all set other than signing this and making sure that everything is squared away. Agenda items for next week, unless someone has something tonight, fire me off a note or Christina a note. And then the reminders, tomorrow night at 7, Community Garden Committee workshop at the Town Hall, Old Town Hall. Planning Board will be meeting at 7 p.m. in this room. Thursday night, senior lunch at 7:30 a.m. in the Snowmobile Club. At 6:30 Thursday evening, Old Home Days Committee meeting in the Old Town Hall. Thursday is at 7 p.m. the Library Board of Trustees at the library. Saturday, the 25th at 8:30 a.m. Cribbage Tournament in the Old Town Hall. We're back here next week. Assessing Agent, Code Enforcement Officer, Park and Rec, and Old Home Days Committee. That's a meeting in and of itself. Another cribbage tournament, Saturday, June 8th at 8:30 a.m., 5 p.m. Monday, June 10th, the 2020 Master Plan. Why did we jump a week? Is that June 3rd? Okay.
I got a quick one, I'm sorry.
Okay, June 3rd. So the cribbage tournament probably is the 8th. But June 3rd is the 2020 Master Planning Group. June 10th is the 12-town group. These are kind of out 3 weeks down the road. So that all being said, I would entertain a motion to adjourn unless somebody has some.
Are the town reports, the warrants and stuff out yet to be reviewed?
The warrant is out, there should be some on the table, and the town report, it looks like it's gonna be ready the first week in June.
Okay. And
So we didn't gain a thing by having the town report done early. So I would suggest somebody call Cardinal and say, we need the town report this week. Do they have everything? Are we just waiting on the
I
phone?
haven't gotten the proof pages yet, so I have to.
So we need to drive this, because we didn't gain anything by having it done early. It's not gonna be out until the first week of June.
The warrant's on the website.
Okay.
Won't happen once they're-
Anything else, folks? I entertain a motion to adjourn.
so move.
All those in favor?
Can we
Thank
pass
you.
this down? We got some.